to me and some of my colleagues, we were from the Third Reich. This is insane.
You're going to look at 14, 15-year-olds as a bunch of criminals?
It's insane.
Oh,
do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib?
Please.
Is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting card.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. And I'll respect everything that you say. But to say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line. It's way out of line.
Regular order, Mr.
Way out of line.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay, right?
That is not how it goes.
It's okay, right?
You hold yourself accountable before you talk about
Hold myself accountable.
Hold your.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Ms. Tlaib from Michigan.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I think it's really important. I mean, we're talking about, 700,000 people that live here, and I feel like their voice gets completely just dismissed. And so, if I may, Mr. Chair, ask unanimous consent to enter the record. The Washington Post poll of D.C. residents found 8 out of 8 in 10 opposed Trump's taking over of their local police and sending in federal troops.
Without objections ordered.
I think it's also really important to understand, like, the incredible kind of slanderous, like, defamation. I don't know what to call it. They're just burying Washington, D.C. You just heard them speak about our nation's capital in that way, in a way that I feel very much like that's not what I see. I see people walking around with their families, people enjoying time to see these beautiful, incredible, beautiful monuments and everything. And there's a pride here too. And so I just want to bring the DC residents into this committee because I feel like they are being made invisible. And this really ugly picture that is not reflective. And I'm from Detroit. I've seen it happen to my city, and it's despicable in a way that I feel like really goes up against our values. One of the things that I know in every abuse of power that, we let President Trump and the administration get away with in D.C., it will be replicated. It will be expanded across the country, and it is going to tear apart our communities. Mr. Jackson, I talked to you about a little bit about this, but I think it's important to understand that we do have a mental health crisis, that we have a housing crisis, affordability crisis. Can you police any of those away?
No.
You can't police away homelessness. And the way they talk about our homeless neighbors is so, no wonder there's violence increasing towards homeless neighbors. I see it already, the brutality of it. When we see housing costs go up, when we see, again, the lack or dismissiveness of the mental health crisis that we continue to grow. And it's not just this administration, and the previous administrations as well. No one has moved with the urgency that is needed. Just last week, the committee approved over a dozen bills regarding Washington, D.C. And, I'm just curious. Criminalize children. My colleague from Boston talked about this. It basically interfered with legislation already passed by the local government. Was anyone on this panel consulted? Any of you? Raise your hand if you were consulted on any of these bills. Yeah.
We were not.
One of the things that, AG, I've been listening to you. One of the bills actually eliminates your position completely. What effect would that have? Completely eliminating your position in regards to be able to do the job that you do to protecting all the families in Washington, D.C.?
We'll start with the fact that more than 70% of the residents of the District of Columbia overwhelmingly voted for having an independent elected attorney general.
That's right.
And that's a recognition of the fact that when an attorney general is directly accountable to the people, directly responsive to the people, we are much better at doing our job in terms of addressing housing affordability and conditions in slumlords, seniors and consumers who are being scammed, addressing the issues that are most important to D.C. residents because I am accountable to them.
I read wage theft is an issue, workplace discrimination. There's a number of issues that need to be addressed, and they're not going to address that. They want to paint you all as this ugly, dark, all just out in the street. The way it's just unbelievable because they all live here. I don't see it. I don't see what they see. I don't understand why we're allowing that to happen because I actually think it's going to hurt our communities. People are going to look at Washington, D.C. folks in a way that I think is going to be very painful, but also you know, I don't know, Mr. Jackson, I heard the stories. People didn't leave their homes. They weren't leaving their homes. Businesses didn't see people coming into, I mean, that's what we want in our nation's capital. Stay in your house, don't move, don't go anywhere, stay fearful. It's unbelievable that my colleagues continue again to eject this narrative and this rhetoric in regards to, but I think it's important, Mr. Chair, just like in DC, home rule was one out of Black freedom struggle in the fight for civil rights. We can't be passive right now. So nobody over there should take anything we say like so personally as if we're attacking them. No, we're attacking a process, we're not attacking people here. And I think it's really important we need to stand up against this. Fascist takeover, that's not a bad word. It's a fact. And here in DC and across the country, it is so incredibly important, Mr. Chair, that this committee does not allow rhetoric that defames and or paints Washington, D.C. in a way that you all haven't really truly seen. You're just reading it. No, you're just reading it or something off of some.
Will the gentlelady yield to a question?
Yeah, I think it's really important.
Will the gentlelady
No, I
yield?
don't yield. I don't even have time. I can tell you.
Your time's expired.
It is expired, but Mr. Chair, but you all live
like
here,
Mr.
and
Tlaib.
you're not telling people the beautiful parts that you do see in our
Mr.
nation's
Tlaib.
capital. And no, it's just wrong how we're
No,
doing it.
Chairman, I think
Wrong.
it's insane that the
But you're
gentlelady
gonna
doesn't
look
have
at
an
the
argument, but she's going to
Washington, D.C. as a
refer
bunch
to
of
me and some of
criminals.
my
You yield to
colleagues.
Mr.
Mr. Chair,
Donald.
We were
you
from the
know
Third
this.
Reich. This is
You're
insane.
gonna look at
It's
14,
insane.
15-year-olds as
It's
a bunch of
insane.
criminals?
It's insane.
Oh,
Do I look
yes,
like a
please.
member of the Third Reich to you, Ms.
Please,
Tlaib?
please,
Is that what I look like
please.
to you?
You're the one taking your voting
Is that what
card,
you think?
giving it
Is that
to
what you
somebody,
think?
giving
Is
it
that
a
what you
card.
think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think
should-
it's
no,
insane.
you
And
should
I'll
be held
respect everything that you say.
accountable before
But to
open your
say
mouth.
something like
You
that
should be
to
held
myself and all of my
accountable.
colleagues is way out of line.
I'm not the
It's
one
way out of
giving
line.
out voting
It's
cards
way out of
to
line.
anyone
Regular
to
order,
go
Mr.
vote.
Way out of
You
line.
don't wanna vote.
Regular order.
That's okay. But it's okay,
No,
right?
That is not how it
It's
goes.
okay, right?
You hold yourself accountable before you talk about
Hold
Washington,
myself
D.C.
accountable.
Mr. Tlaib.
Washington,
Hold
D.C.
your
out
own
of your
self
mouth.
accountable. How
Keep
about
it out of
that?
your mouth.
Hold your own
I'm
self
trying,
accountable.
Mr.
How about that?
Free D.C. and make sure you
All right.
vote with your own voting card. Don't be giving it to somebody
Mr.
else.
Tlaib. All right, time. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert from Colorado. Order. Wait a minute, Ms. Boebert. All right.
It. All right, you just saw that exchange from Congress, and I got to tell you, moments like this are exactly why so many Americans feel like Washington has completely lost touch with reality. But before we get into it, welcome back to Voice of Truth. If you believe in honest conversations, defending American values, and cutting through the political spin the mainstream media won't show you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment below letting me know what you think about what we just watched. Your support helps this channel grow and keeps these conversations alive. Now let's talk about what just happened. In this hearing, we saw Representative Rashida Tlaib speaking during a congressional discussion about Washington, D.C. and policies connected to the federal government's role in the city. She argued that people are unfairly criticizing the nation's capital and claimed that efforts tied to former President Donald Trump could amount to what she called a fascist takeover. And that's where things started to get heated. Look, as Americans, we should absolutely debate policy. That's how a democracy works. But when members of Congress start throwing around extreme labels like fascist, comparing colleagues or policies to authoritarian regimes, that's when the conversation stops being productive and starts becoming pure political theater. And you saw exactly that reaction from Republican members during the hearing. One of them pushed back immediately, basically saying, "Hold on a second, are you really comparing us to something like the Third Reich?" And you could hear the frustration in that response. Because think about it from the perspective of many conservative Americans watching this. They see politicians claiming that enforcing law, addressing crime, or strengthening federal authority in the nation's capital is somehow authoritarian. But for a lot of Americans, especially people concerned about public safety, the issue isn't about politics. It's about basic order, safety, and accountability. Washington, D.C. is not just another city. It's the capital of the United States. It's where millions of visitors come every year to see monuments, museums, and the institutions that represent the country. And yes, it's also a place where crime, homelessness, and economic challenges have been serious issues in recent years. Now in the hearing, Representative Tlaib talked about deeper social problems like housing affordability and mental health crises. And she's not wrong that those issues exist. They absolutely do. But here's where many conservatives draw the line. Acknowledging social problems doesn't mean ignoring law enforcement. It doesn't mean pretending crime isn't happening. And it definitely doesn't mean that trying to address public safety concerns equals authoritarianism. You could believe in compassion and still believe in law and order. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Another big issue that came up in the hearing was the idea that Washington, D.C.'s local leadership should have more control over its policies. Supporters of D.C. autonomy argue that the roughly 700,000 residents of the city deserve more influence over their government. That's a fair discussion to have. But conservatives often raise a different concern. Since Washington, D.C. is the seat of the federal government, Congress ultimately has constitutional authority over the district. That's written directly into the Constitution. So when Congress debates policies affecting D.C., it's not some random takeover. It's part of the system that's existed since the founding of the country. And this is why these debates get so intense. It's not just about one bill or one hearing. It's about two very different visions of governance. On one side, you have lawmakers who believe federal involvement can help restore order and protect the Capitol. On the other side, you have lawmakers who see federal intervention as undermining local democracy. But again, the real issue many viewers noticed in this clip wasn't the policy argument. It was the tone. When political disagreements turn into accusations of fascism or comparisons to Nazi Germany, it crosses a line that makes real dialogue nearly impossible. And honestly, that kind of rhetoric is one of the reasons so many Americans feel like politics has become more about outrage than solutions. As a conservative, I believe in strong debate. I believe lawmakers should challenge each other. But I also believe we need to get back to something that feels increasingly rare in Washington: respectful disagreement and serious policy discussions. Because whether you lean right or left, the truth is that Americans want safe communities, affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a government that actually listens to them. They don't want endless political drama. They want leadership. And moments like this hearing remind us just how divided the political conversation has become. But they also remind us why it's important to stay informed, stay engaged, and keep speaking up. So now I want to hear from you. Do you think this kind of rhetoric in Congress helps the country? Or does it make political division worse? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you want more breakdowns like this where we cut through the noise and talk about what's really happening in politics, make sure you subscribe to Voice of Truth, like the video, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. United States.